Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Leap English Podcast, where learners become speakers. I'm Lily, and I have a confession to make today.
Ooh, a confession. This sounds interesting. Hey everyone, I'm Jake. What's the confession, Lily?
Okay, so after last episode about listening and fluency, I got a message from a listener that really hit home.
What did they say?
She said, Lily, I love your tips about practicing 30 minutes daily, but here's my problem. I'm terrified to speak. What if I make mistakes? What if people think I'm stupid?
Oh, wow.
And I realized that was me 5 years ago, completely paralyzed by fear of making mistakes.
Really? You seem so confident now.
Now, yes. But when I was learning, total disaster. I'd rather stay silent than risk making a mistake.
That's so relatable. And honestly, that was probably the biggest obstacle I faced in London.
Really? Tell me.
Oh, yeah. I had all these techniques, reading, shadowing, thinking aloud, but when it came time to actually speak to real people, I froze.
Because you were afraid of mistakes?
Terrified. And you know what's funny? In the last lesson, we talked about listening, accents, and fluency. But none of that matters if you're too scared to open your mouth.
That's so true.
So today, we're tackling the elephant in the room. The thing that stops most English learners from actually using English.
Fear of mistakes?
Fear of mistakes, and also shyness. Because let's be honest, speaking a foreign language makes everyone feel shy sometimes.
Even confident people?
Even confident people. So today we're going to talk about how to handle mistakes without feeling stupid, how to overcome shyness when speaking English, and what to do when you don't know a word but need to keep the conversation going.
Those are such important topics.
They really are. And I'm going to share some very personal, very embarrassing stories from my time in London. Stories I haven't told in previous episodes.
Ooh, I love embarrassing stories.
Of course you do. All right, let's jump in.
Okay, Jake, so you mentioned you were terrified of making mistakes. When did this really hit you?
This was Tuesday of my third week in London. I was getting more comfortable at the cafe, understanding customers better, feeling pretty good about my progress.
Okay, sounds positive.
But there was this one girl in my class, really smart, studied English for years, knew tons of vocabulary, way more than me.
Okay.
But she never spoke. In class, she'd stay silent. When our teacher asked her questions, she'd give one-word answers. And one day she raised her hand and asked, "Teacher, I want to practice speaking, but I don't want to make mistakes. I don't want to look stupid. Can you help me?"
Aw, that's so sad.
It was. And I realized I felt the same way. I was speaking more than her, but only because I had to for my job. Inside, I was constantly worried about mistakes.
So what did your teacher say?
She said something that completely changed my mindset. She said, "Making mistakes is a very interesting topic, and I want to share my personal experience."
Personal experience?
Yes, she told us she was currently learning Spanish.
Oh, so the teacher was also a student.
Also a student. And she said, "When I speak Spanish, I don't care if I make mistakes or not."
She doesn't care?
She doesn't care. And she explained why. She said, "When I learned my native language as a child, I didn't care about mistakes. Mistakes weren't important. My main goal was to communicate ideas. That's all."
That's interesting.
Right? And then she said, "I know that when I read a lot, speak a lot, and do shadowing, my Spanish will naturally get better and better."
So she trusts the process?
She trusts the process. She said, "This might seem very simple, but it's what I've learned after many years of teaching and learning languages. It works very well for me and many of my students.
Okay, but Jake, isn't that just ignoring mistakes?
That's what I thought. But then she explained her current level. She said, right now, I know about 1,500 words in Spanish. That's the level of a 2-year-old child.
2-year-old?
A 2-year-old. And then she asked us, do 2-year-old children care about making mistakes?
No, they just talk.
Exactly. She said, 2-year-olds make tons of mistakes, but they don't care. They keep using their native language, and by age 3, they make very few mistakes. By age 4, they speak very well.
Oh, so mistakes are just part of the learning process.
Part of the process. And then she looked at us and said, most of you know about 2,000 words. So you're like 3-year-olds in English. It's absolutely okay to make mistakes from time to time.
That's actually really reassuring.
It was. She said, when you continue using English, there will be fewer and fewer mistakes in your speaking.
So time and practice fix mistakes automatically?
Automatically. And then she said something really important. She said, it's not possible to go to a higher level if you don't make mistakes.
Wait, what? You need to make mistakes?
You need to make mistakes because mistakes mean you're trying things beyond your current level. You're stretching, growing, learning.
Oh, so if you never make mistakes?
You're only using what you already know perfectly. You're not challenging yourself.
That makes so much sense.
Right? And she compared it to learning a musical instrument. She said, when you start playing piano, it's not perfect at the beginning. You hit wrong notes. That's normal. It's a necessary part of the learning process.
So mistakes are necessary.
Necessary. She said, if you don't go through this period of making mistakes, you can't get to higher levels.
Wow, that completely reframes mistakes.
Completely. And then she gave us practical advice. She said, if you want to make fewer mistakes over time, do lots of reading and shadowing. When you read, read aloud. This helps reduce mistakes.
Because you're practicing correct patterns?
Correct patterns. But, and this is crucial, she said, in real conversations, care only about exchanging ideas. Don't care about making mistakes.
So separate practice from real communication.
Exactly. She said, when you speak, you're practicing converting ideas into words. You're not learning grammar or vocabulary in that moment. You have other activities for that.
Oh, so speaking is for communication, reading and shadowing are for accuracy.
Precisely. And then she gave us this amazing perspective. She said, famous people, bosses of big companies, politicians, they all make mistakes when speaking English. But they don't care. They care about communicating their ideas.
That's so true. I've heard politicians make grammar mistakes on TV.
Right? And they just keep talking. So, our teacher said, you can do the same. Focus on communication, not perfection.
Did this change your mindset?
Excited. Lily, it changed everything. After that lesson, I went to work at the cafe with a completely different attitude.
How?
I stopped second-guessing every sentence. If I made a mistake, I just kept talking. And you know what happened?
What?
Customers understood me better because I was relaxed, confident, focused on helping them, not worried about grammar.
So you actually communicated more effectively by caring less about mistakes?
Exactly. It was so freeing.
Okay, so you learned to handle mistakes, but what about shyness? Because that's different from just fear of mistakes, right?
Different, but related. And actually, this came up 2 days later, Thursday of that same week.
What happened?
So another girl in class raised her hand, and she said very quietly, I'm very shy when I have to speak English. Can you help me?
I don't want to be so shy.
Oh, that must have been hard for her to admit.
It was. You could tell she was embarrassed even asking. And our teacher's response was so compassionate.
What did she say?
She said, it's completely natural to be shy when using a foreign language. We're doing something we don't know perfectly. The possibility of making mistakes is very high.
So shyness is normal?
Totally normal. And then she shared her own experience. She said, I was also very shy when I learned foreign languages. I remember how afraid I was of making mistakes. When I made a mistake, I felt stupid, and sometimes my face turned red.
The teacher? Even the teacher experienced this?
Even the teacher. But she said, now it's different. I use languages for communication. I care only about communication.
So she overcame the shyness?
She overcame it, and she admitted, I'm learning Spanish now, and sometimes I still feel shy. Sometimes my face still turns red, but I don't care much about it anymore.
Why not?
She said it's a natural human feeling, and it's always just a short moment. I keep using Spanish because I know that only by using it can I improve.
So she pushes through the shyness.
She pushes through, and then she said something really important about perspective.
What?
She said, I try to see things as they are. I'm a student. I'm on the way to good Spanish. It's not possible to jump many levels in one day. A beginner can't become a perfect speaker in 1 hour.
So realistic expectations help with shyness.
Realistic expectations. And then she said, I also see what I mean to people around me. When I already speak some Spanish, I have value to people who speak Spanish.
Oh, so even imperfect Spanish is valuable.
Valuable. And she told us, when you already speak some English, you can have conversations with people. That's great. Look at what you already know. You know 2,000 words. You've already gone from 0 to 2,000 words. Be happy for it.
So celebrate progress, not perfection.
Celebrate progress. And then she addressed something really important. She said, some students think that to know English means to speak like a native speaker. Perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar, no mistakes. They think if they're not doing that, they don't know English. So they're shy because they're not perfect.
Oh, that's setting an impossible standard.
Impossible. She said these students are very hard on themselves, and it's not necessary. You're great because you already speak some English. Keep working on it, and your shyness can step by step go away.
Step by step?
Step by step. Not overnight, but gradually. And Lily, this resonated with me so deeply.
How so?
Because at work, I'd been avoiding certain situations. Like when customers asked complex questions, I'd call my boss instead of trying to answer myself.
Because you were shy?
I was shy. But after this lesson, I decided to be braver, to use those difficult moments as practice opportunities, not situations to avoid.
And did it help?
It helped so much. The first few times, yes, my face turned red. Yes, I stumbled over words, but I pushed through. And after a week of forcing myself into these uncomfortable situations, I felt way more confident.
So, exposure therapy for shyness.
Basically, just keep doing the thing that scares you, and eventually it stops being scary.
Okay, Jake. So you're learning to handle mistakes and overcome shyness, but there's another problem, right?
Oh, huge problem. And actually, after our teacher finished talking about shyness, another student immediately raised her hand with this question.
What was the question?
She said, sometimes I want to say something, but I don't know the word I need. Then I stop. I don't know what to do. I feel very stupid. And the next time I could speak English, I don't want to because I don't want to be in that stupid situation again.
Oh, that's such a common problem.
So common. And our teacher said, this is a very important skill you need to develop when learning a new language.
What skill?
The skill of describing words you don't know.
Describing them.
Yes. She said, when you start speaking English, you have to prepare for situations where you don't know a word. In those situations, you need to learn how to describe the word.
Can you give an example?
She gave the perfect example. She said, imagine you don't know the English word for key.
Okay.
Instead of stopping the conversation, you describe it. A small thing for opening a door.
Oh, so you use words you do know to explain the word you don't know.
Exactly. And she said, you actually do this in your native language, but you don't realize it.
Really?
Really. She said, if you don't know the word for something, you simply describe it to the other person so they understand what you mean. You can do the same in English, but you need to train this ability.
So it's a trainable skill?
Totally trainable. And guess what technique she recommended?
Thinking aloud?
Yeah, thinking aloud again. She said, thinking aloud is a very good technique for learning to describe things well. Use it every day, and your ability to describe will improve.
So when you think aloud, you practice describing things in simple English.
Exactly. And Lily, let me tell you a story about when I actually had to use this skill.
Please do.
Okay, so this was about a month into my cafe job. A customer came in and said, do you have a, and then she gestured with her hands, stirring motion,
Okay.
and I had no idea what she wanted. But I just learned this describing technique. So instead of panicking, I started asking questions. Something for coffee? She nodded. Something to mix? She nodded again. And I realized she wanted a stirrer, a little stick to stir coffee.
Oh, and you got there by describing.
By describing and asking questions. And here's the thing. I didn't know the word stir at that moment either.
So what did you say?
I said, small stick for coffee, and grabbed one and showed her. She laughed and said, yes, that.
Perfect.
Perfect communication, even without knowing the exact words. And that taught me something crucial.
What?
Knowing exact vocabulary is less important than being able to communicate the idea. If you can describe what you mean, you can have successful conversations, even with limited vocabulary.
So it's about creative communication?
Creative communication. And you know what else? After situations like that, I'd go home and look up the word I didn't know. So stirrer became a word I'd never forget because I'd struggled to communicate about it.
Oh, so the struggle makes the word stick in your memory better.
Way better. Words you learn from real communication that always stick better than words from vocabulary lists.
That's so true. Okay, Jake, so you learned about handling mistakes, overcoming shyness, and describing unknown words. But did these lessons actually work in real life?
Oh, they worked. But there was one specific moment, about 5 weeks into my time in London, where everything came together.
Tell me.
So I was at work on a busy Saturday. The cafe was packed. And this businessman came in, speaking very fast, very confident. He ordered something complicated, half-calf, double shot, oat milk latte with an extra shot to go.
That's a complicated order.
So complicated. And old Jake, the Jake from week 1, would have panicked and called his boss immediately.
But you didn't.
I didn't. I took a breath and thought, okay, I don't understand everything, but I can ask questions. I can describe. I can communicate.
So you used all the techniques.
All of them. I said, "Sorry, can you repeat?" He did. I still didn't catch everything, so I described back. Coffee with special milk and more coffee inside? He laughed and said, "Exactly."
You got it.
I got it. And here's the thing. I made grammatical mistakes in that interaction. My sentence structure was wrong. But did it matter?
No, you communicated successfully.
Successfully. And the businessman didn't care about my mistakes. He got his coffee. He was happy. Communication achieved.
That's perfect.
And that moment, that busy Saturday morning, was when I truly understood what my teacher meant. Mistakes don't matter. Shyness is temporary. Communication is what counts.
That's beautiful, Jake.
And from that day forward, I stopped being afraid. I made mistakes. So what? I felt shy. I pushed through. I didn't know a word. I described it. And my English improved faster than ever before.
Because you were actually using it?
Because I was fearlessly using it.
All right, everyone, let's recap these incredibly important lessons.
Yes, this is stuff everyone needs to hear.
First, about mistakes. Making mistakes is necessary for learning. You're like a 3-year-old in English. It's okay to make mistakes. Famous people and politicians make mistakes too. Focus on communication, not perfection. Practice accuracy through reading and shadowing, but in real conversations, just communicate.
Second, about shyness. Feeling shy is completely natural. Even teachers feel shy when learning new languages. It's a short moment. Push through it. Remember that you already have value when you speak English, even imperfectly. Celebrate your progress from 0 to 2,000 words. Don't compare yourself to native speakers. That's an unfair standard.
Third, about unknown words. Learn to describe words you don't know. Use simple language to explain what you mean. Train this skill through thinking aloud. Ask questions and use gestures if needed. Remember, successful communication is more important than knowing exact vocabulary.
The big takeaway? Stop letting fear hold you back. Mistakes are necessary. Shyness is temporary. Unknown words can be described. Just use English and trust the process.
Perfect summary. Wow, Jake, this was such an important episode. Thank you for being so honest about your fears and struggles.
Hey, if my embarrassing stories can help someone else be braver, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, we really hope this episode helps you stop being afraid of making mistakes or feeling shy.
These fears are so common, but they don't have to stop you from speaking English.
Now, we want to hear your stories. Go to the comments and tell us what makes you most afraid when speaking English. Mistakes, shyness, not knowing words, or something else.
Share your experience. And if you've ever pushed through fear and had a breakthrough moment like mine, tell us that story too.
We read every comment, and your stories inspire other learners who feel the same way.
And if this episode gave you courage, if you feel a little braver about speaking English now,
Which we really hope you do.
then please hit that subscribe button. We share practical English learning wisdom every single day.
Every week, real stories, real techniques, real confidence building.
And share this episode with a friend who's afraid to speak English. Maybe they need to hear that mistakes are okay and shyness is normal.
This could be the episode that changes their mindset.
Okay, one last thing before we go.
What's that?
To everyone listening, I want you to promise me something.
Ooh, a promise?
A promise. The next time you have a chance to speak English, don't avoid it. Don't stay silent. Open your mouth and speak. Make mistakes. Feel shy. Describe words you don't know. Just communicate.
That's a perfect challenge.
Because that's how you grow, not by being perfect, but by being brave.
Beautifully said. All right, that's all for today.
Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
We had such a meaningful conversation today.
Now go be brave and speak some English.
I'm Lily,
And I'm Jake.
and this is Leap English Podcast, where learners become speakers.
See you next episode.
Bye, everyone.